And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a
did the
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
and it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. It's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket.
Welcome, everybody. You'll know why I'm laughing in a second. Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. Can't do that no more without my bald spot. But anyway, I am he, and welcome back to another week. Thank you for joining us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And we also stream on our Roku and Amazon Fire TV channel, Empower Network. So thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you for another week of conversation. Might be somewhat of a lighthearted show because I'm just laughing at the GOP this week. This has just been absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to go ahead and just bring my panel in. We got Lori Parker, CJ Jones, and Mr. Jermaine, the franchise Parker. How y'all doing, fam?
I'm laughing right along with you. It has been hilarious.
What's going on, Jermaine?
What's happening?
Hey, I'm a lot better than Kevin McCarthy because my stuff ain't getting aired out every day.
That didn't happen. I don't recall.
Yeah, we got that going on too that I was going to go to. But before I get to the serious stuff with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kevin McCarthy, did y'all know that tomatoes can kill you? Lori, I do hear that fan. I think it's your fan I hear. Did y'all know tomatoes can kill people?
There was a movie called Killer Tomatoes. There was a movie.
Apparently Donald J. Trump has watched this movie.
Well, historically, in Europe, and I'm going to take a stab at Middle Ages or whenever and stuff. They did believe tomatoes were poisonous for a very long time. So I mean, I can't laugh with you because I'm missing out on the context of the joke. But
okay, I'm gonna give it to you. So a couple of years ago, when Donald Trump was running for president, in front of Trump Tower, one of his bodyguards, I think his name was Keith Schiller, ended up beating up some of the protesters. And during the rally, Trump said, if you see somebody about to throw stuff at us, you have my permission to beat the living crap out of them. And remember when he said, I'll pay your legal bills. So the people that got beat up actually filed a lawsuit, and this joker had to sit down for a deposition.
And the deposition.
And I was watching the Rachel Maddow show because she got a hold of Trump's statements. I wish I could play the clip because I'm not going to be able to do it justice. Because I love the way Rachel will just break down transcripts and read the questions and answers back and forth. It's absolutely hilarious. And
her inflection of sarcasm
is
very hilarious.
I would suggest watch it after the show, but I'm going to give you a little bit of what this fool said in a courtroom.
God,
so they were asking him about, did you tell people to beat the crap out of protesters? And he was like, yeah, we got word that they were going to throw tomatoes at us. I don't know if it was Secret Service or something, but I feel like they're the ones that told us that tomatoes were going to be thrown. And you got to be really, really careful because those things can really hurt you. And he was like, but you...
Lori, why you frowned up like that?
Because she probably ain't heard it either,
why did you frown?
Let me tell you what Trump said. This is some of the things he says. It was very dangerous. And the lawyer said, what was dangerous? We were threatened. He says, well, who told you about the fruit? We were told, I thought it was Secret Service was involved in that actually, but we were told, and you get hit with fruit, it's very violent stuff. We weren't on alert for that. Then they discussed the fact of whether a tomato was a fruit, and then his lawyer said it is because it has seeds. So
it is a fruit. It is considered a fruit.
Right. They got past that part.
Mrs. Doubtfire, it was a drive-by fruiting.
And he continues to explain. He was like, it's worse than just tomatoes. It's other things also, but tomatoes, when they start doing that stuff, it's very dangerous. There was an alert out that day. And he was like, who were you talking to? He said it was the audience. He says, you can get killed with those things. He's talking about the fruit. And then he started naming other things that they were going to throw, whether they were pineapples, oranges, apples, and stuff like that. So
I have a question. So basically, he was talking about a killer fruit salad or salad that was going to be thrown at him. I'm like, I don't understand. And the fact that my tax money is paying for this.
If he would have had the windmills around, then the windmills would have caught the fruit. He wouldn't have to worry about it.
No, I just wanted to know: is it a killer salad, fruit salad? Like what's happening?
I'm telling you, boy, it's the bomb, baby.
But I just look. Rachel has the full transcript, so I would advise anybody to please, please just watch that segment and tell me that you won't be in tears because that was absolutely hilarious that this person had to coast to the freaking nuclear.
Oh my God!
This guy was always a few feet within the nuclear football, and he's talking about killer damn tomatoes.
But that's when he went back to when he was running for president, and I think they have that picture from the taco salad that he had in his building, but it had no tomato. So maybe that's where the killer tomato came from. I'm just saying.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
See, Laura, you went too deep.
God,
somebody would literally sit in for a deposition, and his defense as to why his body man beat the hell out of some protesters was his fear of getting hit by a tomato.
Oh my gosh.
That's it right there. That's the story. He thought he could walk into a court and that's the best you got? A tomato?
A tomato. A killer tomato, by the way. Which, by the way, guys, it is on Roku. So for your viewing pleasure, just type in killer tomato and enjoy yourself. It is a comedy horror movie. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. I just want to start with that because that was just.
Oh my God!
I watched that and I watched it again, and I'm like, I mean, I hear him say crazy things all the time, and if you ever listen to him speak, he never finishes his sentence. He'll start and then he'll go and he'll jump around and around, and that's why it's so incoherent because he doesn't finish his first thought. He just jumps from one thing to another, and you can, when you read the transcript, you can go, oh yeah, he totally said it that way. That's how he talks. So when you read the transcript, you're like, oh yeah, damn, they got him. That's word for word him. That's how he talks. So that was just hilarious. But I would definitely encourage anybody that has a good 10 minutes of their life that they don't care to lose.
You got a cool 10 minutes you're trying to keep.
Go ahead and accept the fact that you'll lose it, you'll never get it back, but it's okay. It'll be funny as hell, trust me.
Oh my gosh. That's about as bad as Amber Heard's lawyers. Jesus.
I didn't see that one. I did see where Johnny Depp is doing the whole Amber Heard defamation trial, and he's sitting up on the stand talking with a British accent and everything.
Oh man, it's been hilarious as heck. It's her lawyers are horrible.
Really?
Yeah, and nothing that they've claimed has been sustained or proven or nothing, and that's why he's having such a good time. In a sense.
The problem with defamation suits is that you have to be able to prove intent. So the hardest thing is can you really prove that maybe somebody that's just how they felt, or can you prove that they were intentionally trying to defame you?
Right.
And we had the same issue with the whole deposition of Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day when she decided that her answer to everything was, I don't know. I don't recall that. That's a get out of jail free card, and unfortunately, it may have worked. Yeah, it may have worked. Yeah, it may have worked until there was some more videotape that got leaked out where they asked her about, did you sit there and start talking about martial law, and she couldn't recall. And then there's a tape out, a text that had come out where she texted Mark Meadows about Marshall, Marshall law.
Oh gosh.
So I always think about what Trump always.
And these are the people that jocks. These are the very same people that jock for power, for positions of power in this nation.
These are our best. These are our very, very best.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, y'all did. I don't know how much of that y'all saw with the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing. Basically what they were trying to do, the same thing that they did in North Carolina, trying to use a provision in the Constitution. It basically says that if you participated in, gave any kind of comfort to any insurrection, that you would not be able to hold office. And this was during the time of the Confederacy, of the Civil War, where they were trying to keep it where people from the Confederacy would not be eligible to run for Congress because they had participated in sedition.
Right.
So the whole idea is that if they can get some judge to agree that that is a disqualifying thing because of January 6th, that
she would be off the ticket.
Well, it could set a precedent for a lot of the other Republicans that gave aid and comfort on that day, whether it was Mo Brooks, whether it was Louis Gohmert, whether it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, Madison Cawthorn, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy. It could open up a whole Pandora's box. I don't think it's going to go anywhere because I think a lot of them are going to sit there and do exactly what Marjorie Taylor Greene did, is basically say, when somebody says, I don't recall. So
you're not fully denying it.
You're not saying it didn't happen. You're just saying, well, I don't.
So in other words, you can't. So in other words, we're making sure that you're not perjuring yourself. We're just making sure that you are not admitting to anything either. I cannot. Hey, Jeremy, you remember this? I cannot confirm nor deny.
But I have a question. But if there's
You ain't got to raise your hand.
tape of her or anyone saying this, or the like with Kevin McCarthy talking about Trump needed to go, all of these other things, even though he has had his fealty and loyalty to him. For even with that going on, saying that you don't recall, it's there. So are you going to then come back and say, well, you were drunk? Or like, I don't get it, but because you've said it, it's there.
It's all a game. It's all a word game. That's all it is.
It's just, if somebody asks you a question, I mean, if I say, hey, Lori, what did you cook for dinner last Monday? You could say, oh, that's a good question, Brian. I'm not sure. I don't recall what I cooked. Now, I could go to one of your Facebook posts and maybe you posted a picture of what it is that you fixed that day. But that doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be able to recall it as easily as I can go into Facebook and pull it up. And then I show it to you and say, look familiar?
Because the whole idea is to make you, well, one position is that they are trying to make you perjure yourself. And so as long as you act deaf, dumb, and blind, you can't perjure yourself. So that was the goal.
Yeah, well, the main thing is that they do all of this bluster out in the public. They post on Twitter. She had all these videos on Facebook that basically gave up the whole thing. But then she just tried to, have plausible deniability. Well, it could have. She didn't say, I didn't do it. I didn't say it. She just said, I simply don't recall saying it. I don't, because so many people manage my Twitter handle. I don't know if I liked the post about Nancy Pelosi being shot in the head, or if somebody on my team did.
Well, also Brad had a comment. Hi, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Brad.
He said the sad part is watching in super slow motion how these MFs are all going to skate and not be held accountable for trying to overthrow an election. They should be in jail while this all plays out. It's a joke.
And I agree, because if they were on the other side of the aisle, they would be, I don't know what's the proper term for getting kicked out of the Senate. Is it an impeachment, or is it called something different?
No, they would be simply as just a removal.
Right, but they have some type of fancy word for it. But the thing about it is, they would have gotten them excommunicated, so to speak, from the Senate. And oh yeah, by the way, here's some jail time for you. So I mean, we would know how it would play out if it was coming from the other side of the aisle. So yeah, I definitely agree with Brad on that.
Well, I actually think I don't think either side, because I've seen Democrats just as shady too. I mean, Bob Melendez up in New Jersey. No offense, I like Alicia, his daughter on MSNBC. She does a great job, but yeah, her dad is just about as crooked as a $3 bill. But other Democrats, what was the guy in New York, Lori, black guy? Tell me his name. Say it. The old guy.
Oh, you're talking about oh gosh.
Yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I'm sorry, I can't think of
Yeah,
the name.
it'll come back to me in a second. But yeah, just crooked as he can be.
But he was a sharp dresser.
Sharp, my man Cuomo.
Oh, yeah.
I love me some Cuomo. He had me too.
Yeah, that was a sad case.
So and there's dozens more. Those are just the ones that coming to me right off the top of my head. But it kind of goes on both sides. What just kills me is that these folks will sit there and be so convicted in what they're saying in front of folks and everything, but when it's time to be under oath, now all of a sudden, now you're scared. Now you don't want to sit there and be as boisterous anymore. And they and now as much as people will say that this woman is stupid, she got enough sense to know that when she in a court of law under oath, not to intentionally perjure herself.
Well, that's lawyers. That's her lawyers.
So you got to understand, and anytime you go to court, you have the right not to incriminate yourself.
That's right.
You know, and so I think Celia said the point was perjury. It's not the perjure. It was really, and you don't have to collaborate the facts too. In the murder trial and stuff, most people don't say, "Yeah, you're right. I was there. Yep, that's my knife. Yep, I did that to stab him." They don't go along with it. But the attorneys still ask the questions, right? They
have to ask,
and stuff. And it's not to catch them in a lie and stuff. We have the evidence. We really don't need your confession. We're giving you an opportunity to defend yourself, and if you have something to offer, this is your chance to offer it and stuff. And her lawyers did a bad job of that. But to Brad's thing, you know, talking about the slow motion, and you guys know this is not the first time a coup has happened on American soil of the government, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
1898, I think it was, in Wilmington, in North Carolina, white supremacists actually didn't like the results of a election down there, and they killed people and ran people out of town, mainly because they elected black people and stuff to positions and stuff. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Boy, if I had some pearls right now, I'll be clutching them.
I would, you know. And I think I mentioned it. I've mentioned this before and stuff. So this is actually not unprecedented. What happened on January the 6th, where there was angst, I believe is the one of the terms they like to use. There was some angst in the crowd, and they decided that they had been wrong because how could this have happened? It had to be some trickery or buffoonery, right? And so we're going to take back the thing. They were bamboozled, and so, like, the trial of Miss Green is actually a great use of old laws, right? And like I said, those laws were intended so that the southern states, when they rejoined the Union, could not put the people who had been in power back in power into state governments and stuff. That was the intention. And so, because you know, they with great intention, because we'll end up back in the same place, right? If it's the same people with the same thoughts and stuff, we'll end back with the same place. And so they're using a very very old rule to try to get her disqualified, and as my brother pointed out, other people disqualified from being able to hold seats in government. And as they should, because you think about, none of these people question how they got elected on the same ballots. But they're questioning, and you know, one of the things like Perjury Taylor Greene says is that she's talking about the election integrity in Georgia and stuff, and she's just fighting for her constituents and stuff, and she points to the Senate races that they lost, which were after the November elections as special runoffs. And so after you said that the Democrats rigged the elections, you're now saying, as you watch them again in real time, they were able to do it 2 more times in front of you when you knew in plain sight before, and you counted the votes 3 times, and we just couldn't find it and stuff. And so, look, I believe what I want to believe, right? Like, I believe, like a lot of black women, that butter pecan is one of the greatest flavors of ice cream.
Oh, yes, sir.
In the world.
Hands down.
Every day, all day.
Hands down.
Bro.
But there are other people,
Lori,
who like that vanilla bean, right? And
Lori. Surprised, right? Anybody?
No. But, you know, so what makes my position in that more valid than yours? Man, I don't know. But in when we have numbers and counting and stuff like that, there are conclusions that we should be able to all draw to. But just look at the way the world is right now and how polarized we are about what are facts, what we define as facts and stuff. And so it's hard to narrow down or tie down people to their truth. And like I say again, Taylor Greene not recalling is my brother a great example with the food posting and stuff where you posted this. Did you not post that? It's great. And quite honestly, maybe she doesn't remember. Now, the things about calling for martial law, you would think you would remember something like that. There's some other things you would think that you remember some of these things because they seem to be highly important and in the purview of somebody of that stature,
Right.
that position, right? And so, but again, as you said, smartly, you can say whatever you want. Freedom, within limits. Excuse me, within limits. Like you can't yell fire in a crowded building or bomb at the airport and stuff. So free speech has its limits and stuff.
Or free chicken wings at West Charlotte High School.
Oh boy, don't say that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't say that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. But I'll see.
Or egg roll.
We don't. And we don't talk about Bruno. No.
No.
Or Jada for that matter.
Yeah, no,
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Hold on. I was making sure he wasn't around.
You said keep it light. You said keep it light. So I'm trying to keep it light.
Yeah. But like you said, so there are limits. There are absolutely limits on things that you can say. But telling people that you think that the election was stolen, it's not beyond your First Amendment rights and stuff. I think, for me, it was a perfect opportunity for her to double down on some statements.
Yeah.
Instead of run away from her.
Because her following is not going to change and hasn't changed.
Well, but you got to remember that Republican followers can change overnight, which is the reason that they're so mesmerized with Donald Trump, because without his blessing, they can lose whatever standing they have. All he has to do is say, you're out and you're in, and they're done.
Yep.
Which is the point with McCarthy, right? Is that he said some stuff that he didn't want to get out, that he truly believed. And it would actually be sad, irony, that he would lose his position over finally having a spine and saying what was right, only to later lose his spine because he understood when he went down to Mar-a-Lago and Trump sat him down and said, "I'm king, kiss the ring." And so it's interesting that the truth is the thing that sets him free.
Well, you're right. And the funny part as we tie into the whole Kevin McCarthy fiasco is he was Liz Cheney before he wasn't Liz Cheney. So the only difference is that Liz remained consistent in her convictions. Everybody else sat there, took the headwinds and said, wait a minute, these people aren't outraged, so we can't be either. And then they tucked their tail in and headed back to Trump land. And Liz sat there and said, nah, I'm still going in this direction because he is a threat to democracy. So, but they all felt it, obviously. But when they got the headwinds and realized that the rest of the party didn't move out, they didn't care.
Yeah, but
So
see, I think about that. Look,
they were all in the same camp originally. They broke with Liz more than Liz broke with them.
Yeah, and they did that because I remember just like a small snippet of when they was interviewing Mitch McConnell, and I guess they was trying to wrap their head, like just people like you and I, we're trying to wrap our heads around, like, okay, what is this right side going to do, right? Because now you got these Trumpers, they are like extremely right. And then you got your regular Republicans and stuff. And he broke it down in like just a sentence. They really do have this do or die, this ride or die mentality. They are going to ride. They don't care how crazy a person is, all that stuff, be damned, so to speak. They're going to ride with whoever has that platform. And because Trump being the marketer that he is, by him being, I mean, this man can sell stuff. He knows how to market. And with that is influence and power. And it worked for him. And so they followed him. And that's what happens.
I think well, let me say this. First of all, I don't think McCarthy was. I think where he erred is that he could have said, "Yes, I did feel that way," the same way a lot of people felt that way right after and stuff. Because there have been times, and I think everybody can relate to, something happens and it triggers an emotional response, and you're like all in on something, and then a day or two later, you re-examine it and go, "Okay, well, I've softened my position on whatever it was I said, a couple days ago and stuff." If you have children, you've been mad at your children, and you want to do something really bad to them, you have to calm down. And 20 minutes, 30 minutes go by and stuff, and you recant on those things you said. You're not selling them to the circus. They don't have to pack their bags. They get to live
I didn't
in your
really
house
kill
for
my
those
kids.
days. I don't want to kill,
I didn't. I really didn't kill them.
Yeah, and so I think, so McCarthy having the conversation with Cheney and stuff, and the fact that Liz decided that she continued to feel that way is fine. And somebody said, if he had just simply said, I don't recall. No, if he had simply said,
that's
if
it.
he just simply said, yes, like my fellow, hey, he could have dragged a couple people down, crabs in the barrel kind of stuff. He could have said, like my fellow Republican Lindsey Graham said on the floor, it's been a good ride. I up until this point, I hate that it ended this way because I think that Donald Trump has been one of the most influential presidents of our time. Yeah. That's what Lindsey said. But it's over. I hate it ends this way, but it's over and stuff. Only to later on go back to supporting his friend.
That is true. That is the big. If you sit there and announce that a politician has changed their position, that's not going to move the needle. And even saying, hey, a politician lied, that's not going to move the needle. What moved the needle this time was that the New York Post actually came to McCarthy and said, hey, did you say this? And he just flat out rebutted and said, no, y'all making this mess up. And then they played the tape and he said exactly what they said. And then instead of just coming out saying, okay, you got me, he tried to play semantics and say, well, I never asked the president to resign. That wasn't the question. The question was, did you have a conversation about telling him that it would be best that he resign? The question wasn't, did you tell him to? The question was that a conversation that took place between you and House leadership? He rephrased the question. It's like saying, hey, Jermaine, did you go to the club last night? Man, I ain't seen that mug in about 3 days.
What? Who?
Huh? Boy, if that ain't some misdirection, that wasn't even the question, dog.
Hi, my name is Johnny. I like apples.
but that's what he did. And I was like, I was waiting for one of the reporters to be smart enough. And one of them actually did and said, well, sir, that wasn't really what the Post asked you. But then McCarthy did pull a Marjorie Taylor Greene on him and said, well, the way that it was presented to me was, did you sit there and tell the president to resign? And I was answering it based off of that. Now, if he meant to say it a different way, that's a whole nother thing. But the way that it was brought to me was, did you ask the president to resign?
Well, the way I interpreted that was they asked him, he said no, and then said they're lying and put a statement out about they're lying about me.
Oh, yeah.
Before they released the tape and stuff. So he can try to, and so here's the real big thing is that we'll talk about it, and then next week we'll talk about something else because we'll have moved on and stuff. And quite frankly, the Republican Party will have moved on.
They already have.
The party literally has no legs. That's a Madison Cawthorn joke. But
God, dog.
I mean, if it's
where the party at?
No, but we need to get the party picture too.
I just say, where the party at?
I'm jumping around. But seriously.
But Madison can't.
But
he can roll around.
Well, y'all
Hey,
That's
you
good.
said keep it
Sorry,
light.
I don't know why
That's
you said
good.
blurry. Okay, there you go. You went blurry for a minute.
That's
It
good.
does
I
that.
thought it was me.
Nope, it does that.
Wow.
We fall down, but he can't get up. That's- now, so here's
Remember,
the
he
thing.
wasn't in
If
those
I did make
parties.
fun of him, then I would be treating him like a full adult and stuff. I make fun of everybody. Everybody.
In full drag.
I was about to say that. I was about to say
Yes,
you
absolutely.
Fabulous.
you saw this fool in lingerie the other day, right?
Yeah.
Yes, with
It was
his
only
full beer, and he was again.
He was
A- a-
fabulous.
After what kills me about Republicans is this. I have to break in and say this. They will everything that they act like that they do not like, and I said this last week too. They're projecting because these are things when they start talking about pedophilia, they got pedophiles. Hell, this is the same party that had credible evidence that Roy Moore in Alabama was sitting there messing around with little gals at the mall.
Boy.
And instead of saying, you know what, we know Doug Jones, a Democrat, is running against him, they still were voting for him, left and right. But they would lead you to believe that they are concerned about kids being butt fucked in a pizzeria in DC, somewhere. Ain't nobody believing that. But every time they bring up their Christian values and being with the Lord, ask Jim Baker how that worked out. Ask Jimmy Swaggart how that worked out. They always come up with this crap about their high beliefs and their family values, and them be the same ones beating their wife, cheating on their wives.
And that's why people don't respect.
For horses in Brazil. You got the governor of North Carolina running to Argentina with his lover in the mountains, and they can't find him. All these kind of crazy things they sit there and talk about, and that like they won with God and everything and stuff like that. I'm like, y'all ain't no better than these Catholic priests,
bro. And I know. I don't want to go off on a deep tangent, but that's why I cannot stand people that hide behind religion. Period. Like no matter what it is. That's you personally. It has nothing to do with a supreme being. It has nothing to do with supreme power. None of that stuff. Look, that's you. Just take ownership. That's you. It has nothing else to do with God. None of that. And that's why it can't be. And that's why people attack Christianity and stuff like they do. Is because of these. Because of all this,
they hijack the religion and use it to back up their own beliefs. I mean, the Klan did that forever. They hid behind
exactly. The Klan is like one of the main ones that I'm thinking of.
Well, the problem, and I'm gonna throw in Newt Gingrich.
I got you.
Cheating on his wife while she died of cancer. Because that's a good one.
Giuliani.
Okay.
Well, so the problem with the platform of the messaging is that and this is just my tangent for religion and stuff is that in every religion, whether it be Christianity or the Muslim religion stuff, there's only one prophet in there, and there's only one perfect the figurehead, the holiness of that religion and stuff that's meant to be perfect. In fact, being a Christian is actually supposed to be admitting that you are a sinner. Not that you are beyond sin, but you are not beyond sin, and that you believe in a higher power that can deliver you from sin. Right? That's really what the Christian interpretation should be. Right. And so the problem is that because these guys come off as traditional family values, whatever. A lot of people have a self-loathing thing about themselves, and it's not that they hate you, it's that they hate the parts of themselves that the mirror of you reflects against.
There you go.
What I said when I was trying to I was cooking dinner and I couldn't join the show last week. I got behind and stuff with the girls and stuff, but what I was trying to point out, the same thing with last week, is that they generally point to other people, right? Who embody or show the same things that they themselves are struggling with. Which is the pedophilia is today, and so which is actually kind of troubling from the party that's now screaming pedophilia all the time. It's kind of a warning sign. I used to as I got into my mid 30s, and stuff, what I realized is that, like in relationships, if you're with somebody who's constantly checking up on you and checking your phone and where you've been and stuff like that, and are you cheating and stuff, the reason that they see those signs in you is because they're doing it. Right. And so they're paranoid about your behavior because they're uncomfortable with how they are.
Right.
And what they're doing. They know they're up to something, so you must be up to something too.
Right. And that's just like what we was talking about like last week. You know, they are feeling convicted because more than likely they are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, so let's go back to the election stuff. We know you stole the election because we were trying to steal it.
Right. I mean, perfect example. Mark Meadows.
You were stacking because you thought that we were stacking.
Mark Meadows is going to all these different Republican conservative conventions and stuff and talking about election integrity and making sure every vote counts, one person, one vote, and all this stuff. And come to find out, one person, 3 votes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I know you're cheating because I'm trying to cheat too.
Right.
So that's what it is.
So I expect everybody to be just as much of an a-hole as I am.
Exactly.
As long as you admit to it, Brian. As long as you admit to it.
Admission is the first. Funny. No, what they say? Admission is the first step. Man, if you don't bring my little sister back, bring my little sister back.
There you go. 3,
2, 1. There it is.
Nope, I added myself back. Thank you. But that's okay.
Yeah,
you love you, boo boo.
You see what happens when you give the admin privileges to other people?
They just take advantage. They just take advantage of it.
Don't they? But I put her in timeout for a second.
But, you know, so that's kind of the point with these guys, right? Is that they are the villainy that they see out there is the villainy that they obviously see in their own party. As we, you know, as I brought up Madison and stuff, and him talking about the orgies and the cocaine and or whatever drug stuff, you know, yeah. Should have had to run a marathon.
So Jermaine,
yes.
So then help me understand, and this is totally a rhetorical question: how can the party that espouses religious freedom constantly promote legislation that infringes on people that don't have the same religious beliefs as they do?
Because this country is racist. And
where are my pearls? Where are my pearls?
I'm clutching them even if I ain't got them.
And I know there are a lot of people out there, especially guys in Florida, who are reading math books saying that the CRT
get a math book.
But it really is, because remember, this is the same country that fought for its independence while enslaving another people.
Don't you find that funny?
It's projection. It's projection. It's the same thing.
Isn't that why they left England from the start? They was feeling oppressed.
But CJ, didn't we just talk about projection? The thing that they sit there and say that they hate is the same thing they turning around and doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, just reasonably, just talking to you and stuff, and it's Jermaine. Why do you always bring this up? Because it's true, number one.
Because it's true.
And number two, because it is ingrained in the genetics of our culture and stuff, where people only want things when it's convenient for them. Ooh. And they only want, and when it's not convenient for them, there was I guess there's a case in the Supreme Court about somebody kneeling and stuff, and Conan Barrett was talking about that's religious freedom and stuff. But then, of course, we talk about Colin Kaepernick, and everybody was outraged at his kneeling and stuff, and it was not free speech. When we look down in when we look at Florida and we look at them attacking Disney because Disney expressed views that didn't align with what was going on with DeSantis down there and stuff. But these are also the people that said that government should not be in the business of businesses, that we are over-governed and stuff.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of that, there are people who want to stand up for Disney, but also call for business to pay their fair share of taxes. We all want it our own way in our own manner, right? In our own time. And it just and so a lot of people, not just Republicans, not just Republicans, on both sides, right? Is the one thing that they can agree on both sides. They can be hypocrites, and they're hypocritical situation by situation as it benefits them.
Right.
That's what it really boils down to.
That now the funny thing about the Disney thing is a couple of things. They basically retaliated because Disney had the nerve to speak out against their "Don't Say Gay" bill. At the same time, Disney also said, "We're cutting you off. We're not going to send you guys any more campaign checks, any more donations." So you ain't going to send us any more money? Okay, bet. We're going to take away this 50-something year thing that gave you exclusive rights to self-govern. But not thinking. So if Disney doesn't self-govern themselves, what you effectually just said to your constituents is you got to pick up the tab, because now that means we have to have public fire department, public police, public trash. Everything else now means that you as the taxpayer is going to see an increase in your personal property taxes, because now we got to hire more staff to do those services that Disney was responsible for paying for as a private entity.
And remember, Disney is basically the size of a city. So what you're saying is that we're putting a new city on the map that we have to fund.
Right. Okay. And Disney has a $2 billion debt that you basically just sat there and said,
pass it on to everybody else.
Y'all good.
You good.
Yeah. See,
they wasn't thinking, bro. They was not thinking.
I can't remember which one of my relatives used to say, "You so smart, you stupid."
You stupid.
but if that was a meme, it would be that right there.
You are smart, dummy.
Right. You so smart, you stupid. Because you tried to sit there and do that, but wait a minute. You just took them off the hook of a $2 billion debt. And now you basically just told them that you're going to make all of your constituents who have to vote for you that you just raised their taxes, and you're supposed to be the party of lowering taxes.
Deflection. They're going to blame the Democrats for that.
I'm
sorry. No, they're going to blame.
No,
I'm sorry. They're going to blame Biden for that.
Either Biden or Obama.
Biden, Obama, or the Democrats.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody like that. And
because that's what they do.
No, it's Pelosi.
And because they don't believe in facts, they might actually get away with it.
Don't blame us.
But yeah, no, Jermaine, I just thought that was so crazy how they thought they were hurting Disney. And I'm thinking, damn, you just gave them $2 billion back that they ain't got to pay. Well, please do that mean to me and take away some of my old taxes.
Well, what they're going to try to do. So here's the thing, too, is that Disney makes a lot of money, and so they can afford really good lawyers.
Right.
The state's going to be just going to have to do with state employees, and as a government employee, I'm telling you, that's not going to work out. But what they're going to try to do, they're going to try to say no, that Disney is responsible for that debt because they incurred the debt and blah blah blah, which they would actually, I believe, would be right in that assumption, right? I think what it shows again is the hypocrisy of people saying, well, you shouldn't tell businesses what to do. We just had this conversation about telling businesses about mask mandates and people staying at home and remote working and stuff, and you shouldn't be able to tell businesses what to do. I mean, I heard it, everybody else heard it too, and as soon as the business, and they can say it's not retaliation, that what they're doing is that they're making sure that, but they're so butthurt that they're turning into liberals that they're going to start attacking corporations and making them pay their fair share. Well, those are liberal talking points and stuff. And so I'm not quite sure that they understand from that point what they're doing. They're going to hinge it on the whole, you got to call it one way or the other. Either you got to say we're doing it as retaliation because they don't believe in what we believe, and keep your constituents that way, because you can't say I'm going out to big business because that's not your platform.
Right.
Exactly.
You're playing in somebody else's backyard.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. You can't
you can't be quasi-liberal and saying that you straight up Republican. You can't do that, bro.
You really can't.
You can't just touch some stuff for 20 minutes and go, well, you know what? I tried it. I didn't like it. I'm going back. I'm gonna have a family, some kids.
Hey, what was that thing about like women can do it, but men can't? About like your college life experience. Like a woman, she's the only one. She's the only being that can have sexual experiences and but just still come back and be a woman. But like once a man wants to experiment, he's that way. Period. He can never come back walking a straight line.
Hey,
if you know what
Greg,
I mean.
Greg, don't listen to him. It was one time, brother. It was one time.
It don't matter. You can never come back and say that you are straight up and down.
Baby.
I don't know what you're talking about. It was just one. It was just one finger. It was just one finger. And I didn't really like it.
The one time I was on top. Lord, why are you looking like that? You look like you ain't never heard stuff like that before.
I have not.
Yeah,
I have not.
Remember, she likes vanilla. She likes vanilla ice cream. So she's
that's
very,
right.
very
you
vanilla.
like vanilla ice cream.
She's very vanilla,
sweetheart. That's been out here in culture for a long time.
I know, Lori.
Women are the only ones that are.
Lori was one of those that airline commercial where it says, "Want to get away."
Okay, but no, seriously. Okay, so the rest of the social world has like this unwritten rule. Females can be forgiven for certain sexual things, but never a man. Once he crossed that bridge, bro, you over there. That's where you belong.
Like if you fart in bed, it's over. If you do, you never get called back. If you fart in bed, it's over. So, but like we were talking about,
this has gone left, right, and left again.
Hey, man. Hey, man.
Bring it on.
You said keep it light.
But like we were talking about, seriously, you know, there are talking points. There's stuff in each political party's lane. I think what they're trying to expand this is that, you know, especially with the Don't Say Gay bill, which, to be honest with you, I have not looked at. I don't know what's in it. I only know from and so this is the problem, and that I'm demonstrating today. I hadn't really said an opinion about it because I don't know enough about it to really have an informed opinion. But that doesn't stop everybody else from having opinions, strong opinions about things, right? I know the things that I've heard, but what does that mean? Until I can read what the bill actually says and what it actually does, what the impact really is and stuff, I don't know.
That would be my thing.
Well,
what is the punishment?
Well, you know, like the biggest thing that I'm seeing pretty much countrywide, you know, we really thought that, you know, the biggest thing in the Republican crawl was basically ending Roe versus Wade.
Okay.
That's one thing. But apparently they have a list of grievances, and now they really feel like it's time to bring those out to fruition. So it's not just people that they consider murderers of little unborn kids. It's also people that don't look like you. And I brought this up on the show last week. Again, one of their feelings is that, hey, if I'm near somebody that's gay, well, that might make me gay. It's going to rub off on me. You know, you can get that gay off me. And this is a party, too, that believes that being gay is a choice. And they don't. And the problem is that they are so afraid because they're not tolerant to people that do not look like them, especially the LGBTQIA community, that if my child goes to school and they have friends that were born one way but identify with something totally different, and they become accepting, they'll actually see how much of an asshole I am. And I think what really shook them in a lot of ways was even the whole George Floyd situation. And I'll tell you why. Because if you noticed, when George Floyd happened, you didn't just see the regular Black Lives Matter and a bunch of black folks walking and protesting and everything else. You saw white folks, everybody out there protesting. You saw people in different countries
Right.
This is when they started talking about the woke mob. Now people are waking up. Yeah, people did wake up and realize, you know what? These black folks been complaining about this for a long time, and we always kept going, well, only if you had complied, he would be alive. Or he would have gotten arrested, or get arrested and then state your complaint later. You know, all those different things they used to attach to why black folks always end up in handcuffs or dead. But this time around, a whole lot of their people turned on them and went to the side of the Black Lives Matter and became woke. They are afraid that these folks are being are in schools as teachers, and they're grooming their children into accepting the fact that there's racial inequality. They can't prove that CRT exists in grade school, high school, and things like that, and that it's not even something that in college you don't learn unless you're in law school or in upper grad school. What they're afraid of is that these same people that were marching are in positions to have influence over their kids, and then they're going to sit there and groom them to be accepting of transgender. They're going to be accepting of the fact that they have black friends and those type of things. And that's why they're calling them groomers, because you're grooming my kid to have values that I don't have. I want my kid to be just as hollow on the inside as I am. And you are a threat to that. There's no CRT in the damn math book.
No, it's not.
They're worried that that math teacher may have implicit views and leanings towards treating black people with respect, towards saying that we need programs out there so that everybody can start off on the same foot. To people that sit there and realize that there's inherent racism threaded throughout this country. And it's not to make white people feel guilty about being white.
But what it does is that it
I don't want my child to be uncomfortable. No, you don't want to be uncomfortable.
Right.
It ain't about your kid. You're projecting your insecurity onto your child.
And they tell it on themselves whenever they say things like that. Whenever they're like, I don't want to feel guilty because I'm white, then don't. It's all about accepting the truth of
That's it.
Part. Don't. Don't, because I can't help but be black. Right. I can't help but be short and black. Those are two things I can't help. Okay? I'm a short black man.
You know, wedges ain't a bad idea. I'm just saying.
Say what?
I said wedges and platform shoes ain't a bad idea.
They're lifts. They got lifts for the shoes. That's what you're trying to say.
This is, but we are dealing with facts here. Okay, yeah, things that you cannot change. even going down the line. Okay, yeah, I was mad. I was mad as a firecracker when I was in the 7th grade, and I was averaging everybody's height, and then by the time we hit the 8th and 9th, I stopped, and my friends went, whoa! I was mad, and I went and I talked to my mom and dad about it, and they was like, "Po fella, listen, man, I forgot to tell you, your great grandmama was only 3 feet tall, and her husband was only a few inches taller than him. You got the short gene, bro. What do you want for us to do? Accept who I am and be happy with who I am. That's it."
That is a true testimony.
That's testimony. It. Real life. True story. For real.
That's
true story.
I'm in tears. That's
it, y'all. For real. I mean, so in other words, my dear Caucasian people, get over it. No. Be happy.
You can't.
No, they can't get over it.
They want us to get over it.
Well, no. So look, I'm gonna say this. So back when George Floyd was going on, I had a friend of mine that I work with, and she's a sweet woman, and we were talking through probably Instagram or whatever, and because I posted some stuff as I tend to do, and so she was asking me about some stuff, and so one of the things I did, I said, hey, go to Netflix and look at is it 13? It's about 13 minutes. Go watch that. And then I gave her some other videos and some things to watch, right? And and actually very quickly, she watched all that stuff and she came back and she was like, I didn't know, what do I do? And so when we talk about people in this guilt that they feel and stuff, generally when people find out, because they're not taught, we were not taught the history.
Correct.
Right? Not through public schools.
Right.
That's not what Black History Month was about. Right? And they're about to commercialize Juneteenth to the point they're not going. They're going to try to make us not want to celebrate it. Jokes on you. We still had a barbecue. But
got two of them now. No.
But yeah, got to turn right back
Just
around.
add another party. Just add another function.
All right.
Don't they kind of win from that since we have to pay taxes on all that meat?
Say what?
And beer?
Yeah.
And the alcohol?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yes.
They're going to win. They're going to win. But the thing is that, so my friend, my dear sweet friend, felt this angst and this guilt, right? Like, wow, one, because she didn't know. And how, as a college educated woman, could I not know these things? How could I not know they're true and stuff? And so I paused and I pumped the brakes on get over it and stuff, because number one, I don't want you to get over it. Because when you get over it, you get past it and it doesn't mean anything to you. I need people. This is how, as my brother said, I was going to bring it up too, because Michael Harriet was the one that posed that view to me, that the children that were in the streets had been indoctrinated in the view of those parents and stuff. And where did they get it from? It couldn't have been college, because some of them were not even college age and stuff. So it had to already be in the schools. CRT has to be in the schools, because I saw evidence of it during the summer and the protests and stuff. And so, not that I want anybody to feel bad, but when you start trying to protect one group or another group, you already are saying who's more important and who needs protection, right? Because we're not enacting laws to protect Black children from these kind of things, or from anything, as a matter of fact. And so I don't want them to get over it. I want them to understand. I want them to feel the pain. I want somebody to question some of the facts that I bring on this show and go, you know what? I'm going to Google 1898 in Wilmington, and oh my God, he wasn't lying. It actually happened. Why am I just hearing about this? Why did I never watch Rosewood? Why is Wall Street, many Wall Streets actually, why is Chicago,
still hard
all
to
these
watch.
places, Philadelphia in the 90s, when the police dropped a bomb in Philadelphia. In the 90s on a Black neighborhood.
Yeah.
Why don't I know about these things?
Or Black neighborhoods are now lakes.
That
we didn't even know of
or
today.
Indian land,
underwater,
land up in North Dakota, they just made a dam. Put it out.
Flood stuff. Yeah. Why is it that Black people traditionally don't know how to swim? Well, when they integrated this stuff, they cemented over swimming pools in the inner city and stuff, because they didn't want to share the public resources. They'd rather put cement in them. And therefore, inner city, unless a Black person grew up near a stream, river, or whatever, body of water and stuff, most Black people don't know how to swim. They grew up in the inner city. And 80% of Black people grow up in the inner city. So these things that we talk about, when I say, hey, there's a reason for that. You might not want to hear the reason for that, but it's there. And please challenge me on it. I love to be educated on something different. I love to think this country was better than what I know it to be, but it's not. And every week we come on here, it comes back to the root of things, of how people are raised, how white supremacy is still upheld and protected, whether through be an educational, our law system, and our justice system for our police officers and stuff, why those things and protections are still in place, why it's okay to attack this group, why it's okay to attack this group, but when you say something about these people, things start happening.
Yeah.
Right. Think about Jermaine with the whole opioid crisis. You know, drugs been around for a while, but once it started affecting little young white folks,
now we got an epidemic.
Now we got to claim a national emergency, and everything.
It didn't affect us.
Yeah, but
I would like to think that because of the crack epidemic and because of years of research and data and stuff, what we found as a society is that it wasn't it was a health crisis right now and not criminal.
Right.
And that as a nation we grew and learned. That's what I would hope is that would happen with the opioid epidemic, but that's not what it was.
No, absolutely not.
That's not what it was. I'd
Right.
like to think that, but I know too much about this country to have that kind of blind faith in that this country do. That's why around the world, and you saw Trump distancing the U.S. from our partners and stuff and people around the world and trying to go into an isolationist thing, because when you leave the U.S., people see how hypocritical the U.S. is. Like this whole thing about telling Russia not to go into Ukraine after we've been in Iraq, after we've been in Afghanistan, after we've been in everywhere that we could land a plane to get into, and intervening and blowing up stuff and killing people, and then getting mad because somebody else is doing the exact same thing. But again, it's hypocritical because we don't like their reason.
Exactly.
So we're going to make sure that we do everything we can because we didn't decide to kill them, so they shouldn't be killed yet. But if we wanted something and we were over there and like Russia said, hey, y'all shouldn't be in Afghanistan, and we said, we don't care what you got to say. You know, and that's the reason that it's why I teach my kids. It's easier, not that your life is meant to judge other people's lives, but it's easier to have a take and opinion on people when you're not being so hypocritical and stuff.
I just want to add real quick that today Joe Biden did request another $33 billion in Ukraine aid.
Yeah, we got it, man. We got it. The U.S. has money. When we say that we don't have money to give students debt,
can't get $15 minimum wage though.
Well, we can't pay people. We can't
have health care for everybody. Can't have child care for everybody. Homeless people, tents all over the damn place.
So let's think about this real quick. How many people are in the U.S. adults? It's like 330 million.
Correct.
How many billion did he just request?
33
billion.
Okay, so easily the U.S. government could have wrote a check for every person in the U.S. right now to have $2 million. Easily. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Everybody gets $2 million. So if you ever go over to Qatar, Qataris share their national wealth. And so that's why it's one of the richest countries in the world because they're oil and stuff. Every natural citizen, Qatari, gets part of that wealth and stuff. If America distributed the wealth, and they're not drug addicts, they're not now they are very wasteful with stuff from my viewpoint, right? Because they can buy and have whatever they want and stuff. And so like when they buy their Lamborghini and the oil light comes on and stuff, they might just go buy another Lamborghini because they got it like that, right? But the U.S. could do the same thing. We could share our national wealth. You know, you think about rich guys like Elon buying Twitter for a couple $1 billion, us having money, billions of dollars to go to wars. I mean, how much war? I mean, it was billions and billions of dollars that we spent, like $180 billion that we spent on Afghanistan. Again,
all we asked for in this whole infrastructure, Build Back Better, and all that was $2 or $3 trillion over 10 years, which is less than $2 billion a year. But and we spend $800 million a year normally on the military, which is over $8 trillion over 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can't spend $2.5 trillion on things that would help people's lives here at home. But then we can spend 16 times as much on a Ukraine package.
Yes.
And nobody bats an eye, and you get bipartisan support, and you don't have lobbyists sitting there against it. You know, everybody's fine with it because they realize that the folks in Ukraine need the help, and they do. I get that, but how we can look outward so much and say $33 billion and easily sign that check, and then when we ask for something not even half.
And you got a problem with reparations?
Damn.
Saying it's too many of us out here. We're only
13%.
We're only 13% of this
But
population.
But
you got a problem with that.
You worry about people being on disability. You worried about people having SNAP. You worried about child after school projects, welfare assistance. You worried about rehabilitation and vocational programs. You worried about the minimum wage being a livable wage. You worried about the housing where people can have affordable housing, getting people off the streets, getting people from decriminalizing drug offenses and making it more of a social thing. You can't worry about that, but you can give 30.
You can barely take care of your veterans
just like that.
Like wow.
Well, you know what, and so I'm a help try to wrap back up because we're talking about the Republicans and this is part of their policy and stuff like that, and we're talking about McCarthy and not being transparent about things that you're doing and stuff, and we're talking about Hawthorne and this is just like Madison, right? These policies have no legs, and so and we can't stand for it, right?
Oh my gosh,
He's gonna be here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
You just keep them coming. Just
I
keep
don't like
them coming.
this dude. This dude is a piece of
crap.
Yeah, he really
needs to just roll on out your life.
Roll out. Roll out.
Autobots. Transform and roll out.
Roll out.
I'm gonna try to wrap this up. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
So, Lori, you want us to keep it rolling?
Yeah.
Or you just want the big wheels to keep on rolling?
Exactly. Big wheels.
You see what Jermaine done to me.
My God.
This is a fool they just got caught for a second time bringing a little
Second.
to the airport.
Yes, to the airport.
Yeah.
Because he wants to do drive-bys.
Oh,
I can't make this up. I can't make this up.
Okay. He definitely ain't gonna kick nobody's ass.
Again.
But he'll steamroll the shit out of you. He'll steamroll the shit out of you.
Oh God.
Oh,
okay, I'm done. Thanks, guys. I'm done. Thanks.
All right.
May God
Stay
forgive me.
tuned for Jermaine Parker's Comedy Hour. Next show that we have here on Roku, Amazon Fire TV,
right
and Facebook and YouTube.
That's right. Oh my goodness. All right, Lori, give me your final thoughts. I see you got it up there on the car line. So.
I'm pretty much out with the jokes, but just again,
keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling and keep it going, but just keep on rolling. That's all I got to say.
So, Lori, you got to be a ride or die. I'm just letting you know.
And Jermaine, your final thoughts.
Look, I'm just I think for the subject matter we're talking about lies and videotapes, right? We're talking about being called up. We're talking about we even brought in CRT and how we can pay for wars and stuff like that, and so I think that really at this point the Democrats have to do something to take advantage of this because the midterms aren't looking good for them because people become apathetic. Generally speaking, whoever's in power during the midterms loses that power and stuff because they get blamed for whatever's going on and stuff. And somehow the Democrats have to get a leg up on this.
It would be nice.
Listen, I'm just gonna keep this thing hopping along, man. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, so I'm just gonna go ahead and make a lift and just literally roll out.
Thank you, CJ. I appreciate that. And
yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Brian Parker, your final thought.
All right, let me get this on a good foot.
can't take you. You and the foot jokes, the rolling. Come on.
Okay.
Get it together.
All right.
I
Final thought.
Oh God.
No.
Oh man, I can't do it today.
You know, I want Joe Biden to realize one thing, and I know it can barely show up on my screen, but this is a pen, Joe. And this pen and one like you have at your desk can really, really help a whole lot of people right now during this time. There's a lot of people that wanted to get higher learning. They wanted to be able to have a future for themselves where they could have a profession where they'd be able to have a career, eventually have a family. But the rising cost of universities and higher education has gotten out of control. And people spend so much of a long time of their early adult years paying off these debts. Some of these loans come with ballooning interest rates and things like that. And Joe, one of the things that you said on the campaign trail is that you were committed to at least erasing, was it 50,000 per person in student debt? And Joe, I commend you. You kept your promise about Ketanji Brown Jackson, and there's some other, and you got us back into to a lot of other different things that Trump had gotten us out of that were detrimental. And I applaud you for that. But you still have another thing that you need to hold yourself to, and that is student debt. Me personally, this can get rid of all of it. There ain't a damn thing the Republicans can do. There ain't a damn thing Democrats can do. But what you really can do to help you with your cratering approval rating is finally put your money where your mouth is and let these people know that you are serious about enhancing their lives. Look, I can't hold you accountable for rising gas prices. I can't even hold you accountable for inflation. These are the results of pandemics. These are results of wars, our dependence on foreign fossil fuels and things like that, rising cost, supply chain issues and things like that. But when it's all said and done, when the question is, have you done enough? Not yet. Joe, get your pen ready. Let's get these folks back in a good position to be able to contribute to society without wondering when these student loans are going to come back into effect, when it's going to pull down their way of life and everything else. Let's give everybody a fair shot. This doesn't affect the Democrats or Republicans or independents. It affects everybody. Everybody wants to go to school without feeling like they're going to be under a whole lot of debt. A lot of kids are making decisions not to go to school because they don't want to be under a whole lot of debt. So do what you can. And as I always say to everybody else, make sure that you vote. We have elections coming up very, very soon. Make sure that we get the right candidates in place. And that's head to head for another week. Thank y'all for joining. I'd like to thank Lori Parker, Jermaine Parker, Mr. CJ Jones, and everybody that's tuned in, left comments, likes, and everything else like that. We appreciate it. And we're going to roll on out of here. See y'all next time.
This is ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.